We're going to talk a little bit about the link between interpersonal violence and animal cruelty. It's pretty long been established, the FBI established about 30 years ago, that a lot of serial killers reported when they were interviewed that they had mistreated animals before they ever harmed a person. And one of the reasons that this fact got a lot of attention was that the FBI was interested in studying how serial killers are made, how they can be discovered, detected, investigated, and stopped. I mean, that's the real answer to why this information is important to us. But one of the things that happened in the animal control community is we sort of ran with that football, that if a child steps on ants, or if we even see a child in the shelter banging on the cage of a cat, well then he's definitely going to be a serial killer. And that's absolutely not true. And there are two things that you need to consider in that. Number one is, if as a child you stepped on ants and now regret it, then that's wonderful and you are not destined to be a serial killer. But more importantly is, if you never harmed an animal in your life, you really cannot lord it over the curious child who did do something. What Margaret Mead said was important in these cases was less that the child had the curiosity or intention to make the animal do something to see what would happen, but it was more important that the parents were supervising or the community was aware that this was happening and put a stop to it. That's what's important, is that when a child acts inappropriately toward another child or a non-human, then we want to intervene. We want to intervene and say that's not how we interact with each other, and give them other tools, because mostly what children are looking for is interaction with the animal. They want to either have the power to make the animal do something, or they have the interest to see what the animal will offer them back in behavior. So we need to make sure that as animal rescue workers, that we are part of the community and we are protecting children from not being supervised when they interact with animals, so they don't make that mistake. One of the common things we hear in animal sheltering is, and we say it ourselves, is, I'm here to help animals, not people. But then we're faced with the backlash from lobbyists and politicians that there are more shelters for animals than there are for people. Neither one of those is a good statement, and I'll tell you why. If you're here to help animals, then you're not going to be able to do it unless you get people to help you. And if you are working with people whose job it is to help people, and that will be social workers, policemen, judges, you are not going to engender their support by saying that it's all about the animals. It may be in your heart, and that may be what you're drawn to, and I think we all feel that way in the rescue community. But animals and people are part of one community. We're here together, we need each other, and both publics have to be served in order that everyone is protected. Also, it is not true that there are more shelters for animals than there are for people. Often where people get that mistake is your local animal shelter is the jail, the daycare center, the unemployment center. It is the prison, unfortunately. It's the mental hospital even. It's the free clinic. Whereas the shelter for people is simply for people who need to sleep someplace safe for the night. So it's a different type of organization, often confused. So, crime is defined by the community. And in most communities, violence against other people is unacceptable. Various types of violences are categorized. It doesn't matter. Mistreating another person is not accepted, and what we want to do as animal rescuers is remind our community that animals are a part of the community that we live in, and violence against them is also not tolerated. The family members are community defined. So in many communities, you can just assume that the dog and cat are family members. They're included on vacations, or they're put in a safe boarding kennel with great facilities. Or in communities where animals are part of the working environment, they actually may be more highly valued than animals that are just pets. These are animals that are fed and sheltered because their very existence means that our family survives to the next year. So when you are working with people who are interacting with animals, you want to make sure that you understand what type of treatment is expected by the community, what type of treatment is expected by social mores, and that you are respectful of that, as well as supporting the end of all community members being served.